Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Modern Warfare in Depth. In today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the brand new CR-56 AMAX assault rifle, which the community has dubbed the Galil, and I think it's based on the real Galil, but they couldn't license the name of the weapon. And the CR-56 is a really interesting weapon. We have a lot to cover on in depth. There's a lot of different potential builds today, ammo conversions, and a lot of interesting stuff. But the short version is that it's basically a better version of the AK-47, and this is especially true for Warzone. I think the CR-56 is going to be an incredible Warzone weapon, and I'll talk about why later in the episode. And it has a very interesting ammo conversion as well that turns it into a great DMR, and the ammo conversion for this gun is better than that of most weapons and of the Fennec. So lots to cover today, lots to talk about, but first, let's do our sponsored segment. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. If you go to nordvpn.com/drifter and use code DRIFTER, you can save up to 70% off of this amazing service. You can get NordVPN for as little as $3.49 a month, which is literally 11 cents per day. A VPN is an essential security tool for browsing on the internet these days. It helps hide your IP and thus your identity from prying eyes, but it also does nice things like letting me watch more stuff on Netflix. I like to use it to watch Netflix shows from other countries because, as you can see from my personal Netflix here, I've watched almost everything that is animated, British, or trippy. So what we can do, if you've already installed the NordVPN Chrome app, which is this link right here, it's very simple. You just click to add to Chrome. You get this little icon in the top right. You click, go to search for a specific country, and let's pick, what's a fun one? We're going to find more anime. So we're going to go to Japan. And we just opened up Netflix in a new tab. You can see that Netflix has still my list and a lot of stuff, but as I scroll down, there's all these crazy Japanese TV shows and animes and stuff not available in the United States, so that's more content for me to watch, more fun to have, and it's just nice, especially in quarantine where I'm burning through this stuff super fast. NordVPN is fast with 5,500 servers in 60 different countries. It has a mobile app too, which is convenient and I use quite frequently. No data caps, no data logging, 24/7 customer support, and it'll work in China, which will be important for all of those Zoom calls where the Chinese try to listen to you. They have their own cybersecurity suite that you can use for both mobile or PC, and you can even double VPN if you want to now for even more security. A VPN doesn't cost very much, but it does unlock a lot more internet for you and provide some privacy, which is nice. So if you would like to get a VPN, I strongly encourage you to go to nordvpn.com/drifter, use code DRIFTER, save a ton of money, and get this amazing service for just a very low fee and unlock the rest of Netflix, which is kind of fun. Now that we're back, let's jump into the meat of the episode. It'll deal 56 damage for headshots, declining down to 45 damage at all the distances I was able to measure. Chest shots will deal 42 to 33 damage depending on your range, and stomach and legs will deal 35 to 28 depending on your distance again there. And the interesting thing about this is that means that the CR-56 is almost always going to be a 3-shot kill in base multiplayer, which is just awesome, and it can be a 2-shot headshot kill, very similar to the AK and some of the other high damage weapons in this game. The rate of fire is 630 rounds per minute, which is a little bit slow for an assault rifle, but it's still faster than the AK-47, which I'm going to be comparing it most to today because they're statistically quite similar. So it's going to kill a little bit faster than the AK-47, and our time to kill here is at 100 health, it'll kill in 190 milliseconds. That is incredibly fast. That's very similar to the M4's time to kill. And at 250 health, or full armor in Warzone, it'll kill in 476 milliseconds, which is just insanely fast. To put this in perspective, it's good, but nothing special in multiplayer. It's like top tier in base multiplayer. The FAL and the FAMAS and maybe even the Odin can out-edge this ever so slightly, but it's in the top tier of full auto time to kill when it comes to regular multiplayer. But in Warzone, it's just very fast. It is the fastest killing assault rifle or SMG in the game now, as far as I'm aware. It'll outperform the Fennec in a lot of cases, which is crazy. It'll outperform the MP5, the AK, the Growl. Most of the weapons in the game are going to be behind the CR-56 in terms of time to kill. It is a very fast killing weapon, but it has other downsides, so I don't think it's going to be replacing the Growl anytime soon. And let's talk about that unique ammo conversion. It'll deal 100 damage flat to the head, giving you a 1-shot headshot potential with this weapon in base multiplayer. Body shots will deal 57 damage, and leg shots will deal 48 damage. And I put a little asterisk on this, that's up to 33 meters, so you can get a headshot at up to 33 meters, which is quite nice. and I was not able to measure the long ranges because there's not a map in which the range is long enough for me to get a good fall off distance test. But the point of it is, though, that you can one-shot headshot up to 33 meters in regular base multiplayer, and that's without adding any barrels or suppressors or range improving attachments. It's just the base weapon, which is... And given that this assault rifle is easy to use with the 10-round M67 mags attached, I think that you're going to see a lot of people using it like this in multiplayer. However, it does slow your rate of fire down, and it goes to properly semi-automatic. You can't go full auto with this ammo conversion at all. It'll fire at 327 rounds per minute, which is a lot slower than base, but it's similar to, if not slightly faster than the Mark 14 and some of the other DMRs in the game. So at least in regular multiplayer, it retains quite a fast time to kill compared to those weapons. I don't think that this is going to play all that well in Warzone, the problem being that you still need 3 headshots in a row out of a mag of 10 to kill somebody. The body shots aren't dealing any more damage than the Odin or some of these other like heavier DMRs, but it is kind of an easy weapon to use. It fires faster than, has less recoil, better handling, and is just generally better feeling than the majority of those other weapons, so it may have some viability, might be easier to get headshots because of that, but that's a whole different in-depth, that's a whole different rabbit hole that I don't have time for today, and that'll probably be my next episode, is trying to get this DMR to work in Warzone. Let's talk about handling stats, because that's another very important part of every in-depth episode this year. The base CR-57 will aim down sights in 283 milliseconds. This is identical to the AK-47 and several other heavier assault rifles in the game, so nothing too special there. The Intruder Barrel, which is the first one you unlock, will decrease it massively down to only 216 milliseconds, making it quite snappier, but you lose some recoil and stuff. The opposite of that, the Zodiac Heavy Barrel will increase it up to 313 milliseconds, or 2 more frames, but you get a lot more range and recoil reduction. And the Squall Barrel, which is the last one you unlock, does seem to have a very minor 2-frame reduction down to 250 milliseconds flat, so not bad there. The Tac Laser will shave off a few frames down to 233 milliseconds. The Close Quarters Combat stock actually not that effective at only 250 milliseconds, so you're saving about a frame or two. No stock has a pretty significant improvement down to 233, and interestingly, the Exo stock, which is probably the equivalent of the skeleton stock for this weapon, I also measured at being only 233, which usually the skeleton stock has been quite bad recently. It's been one of the worst attachments on the gun, but it has a very strong performance on the CR-56, and you get some additional strafing speed out of it, so I think it's a fantastic attachment. When you put 45 round mags on there, it's still 283 milliseconds aim down sights time. I wasn't able to measure a difference or penalty with adding extra mags, so extra mags are going to be quite good. The 10 round mags actually massively speeds up the gun, drops it all the way down to 216, so that definitely is a major improvement, and stippled and grip is a moderate improvement at 250 milliseconds. That's a lot to remember, but we're moving on to sprint out times now. The base sprint out time is 267 milliseconds. Again, it's pretty similar to your ADS. 5 milliwatt laser drops it down to 216 and stippled down to 250. These are all pretty normal ratios for assault rifles, so nothing out of the ordinary there. And the minimum handling stats are a little bit weird. You can get the aim down sights time down to 167 milliseconds, which is incredibly fast for assault rifles, especially a heavy assault rifle like this one. However, the sprint out is capped at 200 milliseconds, it seems, so like balls out, sprinting and rushing, probably not going to be a good idea. And things to remember, your take-homes from this section is that the Exo stock is actually pretty good on this weapon instead of being useless, and the 10-round mags and the Intruder Barrel are quite fast too. So the Intruder Barrel is really nice, 10-round mags is really nice if you just don't need range or speed, and those are the ones that you would gravitate toward if you were doing base multiplayer. But let's talk about the range on this weapon, because ranges are important too. The base range of the CR-56 is an incredible 38 meters. That's the maximum 3-shot kill range or 2-shot headshot range. It deals its full maximum damage up to 38 meters, which is just awesome. This is very similar to the AK-47. The Intruder Barrel, which is shorter, will reduce that down to 33, only a minor change. The Zodiac Barrel will massively buff this up to 53 meters of maximum damage range, which is going to be almost every gunfight that you're going to get into in base multiplayer, and most of your gunfights in Warzone too. And then finally, the intermediate Squall Barrel is kind of in between all of them at 35 meters. And I do want to point out that these are excellent ranges. These are impressive, though they're not quite as impressive as, say, the AK-47 with the heavy Romanian barrel. They're still very good. The Odin and FAL do, of course, have better range too, but they're kind of specialty weapons. The CR-56 recoil is kind of odd. The first 2 shots are pretty much almost exactly on point, and then there's a somewhat hard skip to the left, and then after that it's all vertical, and I've seen this pattern repeat quite a few times. So make sure your first 2 shots hit, and then you can accommodate, and after 1 accommodation it's pretty much all vertical and easy to control. I would probably call this a moderate recoil overall, though the pattern is a little bit wonky. It might take a little bit of getting used to. That being said, I do find it important to add at least 1 recoil controlling attachment and avoiding no stock. I'm just not going to take any additional recoil on this weapon if I can avoid it, and it's nice to kind of cut that somewhat. Each barrel has a different iron sight. There's quite a few weapons in this game that are like that. They're not as extreme in difference as, say, the Growl. Most of them are mediocre, but I do think that the Zodiac or longest barrel, thankfully, it's on the higher tier of iron sights for this game, so I use it a lot in Warzone and even in multiplayer. It's just quite easy to use. Bad idea to hipfire with this weapon. That really shouldn't be surprising. Most of the heavy weapons have wider hipfire boxes and slower rates of fire, which is not what you want. And I think that the 45 round mags are only important in Warzone, but they're very important in that mode. So in base multiplayer, if you only need 3 shots to kill, 30 rounds is plenty. Warzone, you're going to need a lot more shots to kill. The enemies are going to be at a lot longer ranges. You're going to have to put extra shots in to down people. You're going to be fighting 4 people at once in make or break fights. Having extra rounds in Warzone is super, super important so that you can continue to spray and just, you know, kill down people or just swap over to the next target without reloading. It's a lifesaver. I think that the CR-56 is a very good and competitive weapon for multiplayer. It's kind of like a different flavor of the AK-47. It's not necessarily better or worse. I mean, it's better in some stats, it's worse in a few stats. It's very similar, but kind of different, like different brands of cereal, I guess you could say. I don't think that this weapon is likely to see competitive use. I don't think you're going to see, you know, like Clayster bust this one out of nowhere, but I think that you will see it a lot in casual lobbies. I think that casual players are going to get a lot of utility off this weapon and it'll be quite popular. And I think that it's an excellent weapon for Warzone thanks to its excellent range, super fast time to kill, and low recoil. And I put a little asterisk by the low recoil because the recoil is only low once you're done fully kitting it with the class that I'm going to recommend. But after that's done, yes, it does have low recoil for Warzone. Surprisingly, it kills faster than the Ram 7 in Warzone, which is very, very impressive, and kills faster than the AK. So what I'm probably going to do is replace my Ram 7 class with one of these CR-56 classes, so that if I really need to pull kind of like a late game, very time to kill dependent, high damage weapon out of the box, I'm going to be pulling that one instead of the Ram 7. I'm going to test it out, play a bit of course, but that's likely where I'm going to be going. And I do want to point out that this weapon is an absolute pain to level up to get the good attachments, so have fun leveling it. It was pretty miserable. The Finnick is good to go right out of the box. This one is pretty dumpy with its base attachments. You really got to unlock some stuff to kind of make this weapon pop. And finally, at the end of this episode, it's time for our 2 recommended classes. First up is the best CR-56 class for multiplayer. I like running the lightweight suppressor because it doesn't hurt my aim down sights time or handling stats, and the range penalty is minimal given the already insane range on this weapon. I run a red dot sight for extra precision, exo stock for faster ADS and strafing, Merc grip helps my recoil be quite lasery, and stippled will overall speed up the sprint out, which is a little bit slow, and the ADS, which is again a little bit slow. This is an overall, it's not like a crazy creative or inventive class, it's not specialized. It's a very versatile, works in any map, any situation class for base multiplayer, and I think that even the penalty, the range penalty, isn't going to be that noticeable. The Warzone class, however, is quite different. In Warzone, I like running the Zodiac barrel, which is just awesome for boosting range and cutting recoil. I'll add the monolithic suppressor on there to give myself even more range and stay off the radar. 45 round mags are important for spraying people down, and then I'm going to run the exo stock and stippled grip in order to speed the weapon up a little bit. Exo stock actually performs again and similarly to no stock, so I don't see a reason to run this or to run no stock or the close quarters stock over the exo. And stippled is a nice balanced attachment. It gives me a decent ADS time boost and some sprint out time. You could probably trade that for tac laser. I know the tac laser meta is very big right now, but this is the class that worked really well for me. It's a little bit slower than your traditional Growl classes and a little bit slower than your traditional AR classes, but it just deals excellent damage at range. I would say it's, by Warzone standards anyway, like a medium range monster of a weapon. It can really, really Shrek people. Guys, that is all for this episode of In Depth. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And I have a fun clip here at the end for you. After almost 3 months of playing Warzone, I finally was able to use the shield turret properly. So I'm going to show you that stream highlight from Mixer. I stream on Mixer pretty much every day. I do sub lobbies. We have a lot of fun there. I just can't stream on YouTube anymore. So if you guys want to see the streams, click the link down there below in the description, and I'll see you on Mixer. Drifter out. Why is everything invalid placement here?
Fucking game, my gun's back.
How do you like fucking mounted turret, bitch?
Oh, my gun's in the wall and I can't pick it up. Cool, thanks game. What a fucking good game.
Wait, did you say your gun was in the wall?
Yep. Downed one.
Oh, I put that precision on the wrong building.
Yeah, I got the M4 now, you little bitch. I can fucking lace you across the map.
I got one down with the fucking turret, dude. There's no way.
I
can't.
On me, I'm dead. From over there. Oh, God. Yeah, you're...
How does it feel to be lasered, boy?